She must have been out of her head.
Has Madeleine McCann finally been found? Over the last 2 days, the Instagram account I Am Madeleine McCann has been posting evidence that she could be the missing child from the mysterious case that's lasted 16 years. Their resemblance is scarily similar. They both have coloboma, which is a rare eye condition which makes your eyes different colours, and they have the same marks and freckles all over their body. She claims to not remember much of her childhood due to the abuse she suffered from a German man who happens to have the same last name as one of the suspects in the investigation of the disappearance. She's currently in contact with the police, hoping to get a DNA test, so who knows what's going to happen next.
The Muffin Man was actually a serial killer. The Muffin Man is probably one of the most well-known nursery rhymes, but did you know it was based on a real story? A real dark story. In the 1800s, a man by the name of Frederick Thomas Linwood would wait in alleyways to kidnap and kill kids, luring them in with muffins. The song was later created to spread awareness amongst the kids and keep them safe, warning them about the Muffin Man, who was a danger on Drury Lane. Even though he was the first ever documented serial killer in the world, everyone still teaches the song to their kids, because not a lot of people know that.
This boy murdered his 4-year-old sister to punish his mother. In February 2007, Charity Lee was working her waitressing job one evening. She'd left her 2 children at home with a babysitter. Paris Bennett, Charity's 13-year-old son, actually convinced the babysitter to leave earlier than arranged, to leave him alone with his sister. Little did the babysitter know that he had a sickening plan. His poor 4-year-old sister was fast asleep in bed when he went in and SA'd her. He then brutally stabbed her 17 times. He then called the police to confess to the killing. Initially, he told police that he'd killed someone by accident, but he then admitted to killing his sister. He told the operator that he now feels messed up. His mum hadn't even got home from work by the time they'd arrested him. His anger was apparently related to his mum's substance abuse. She'd been addicted to substances before Paris was born, but she had had a period of her life where she was clean. After being sober for such a long time, she actually relapsed. Paris said that he was angry about this and wanted to punish her. He's currently in prison serving a 40-year sentence, but his mother still regularly visits him. She said, "I hate what he did, but I can't hate my son." Paris now takes full responsibility for his actions and said that it was a calculated act.
There's an update on the girl who claims to be Madeleine McCann. For those that don't know, Madeleine McCann went missing while on vacation with her family in 2007. Madeleine was never found, but this girl is claiming to be her. Well, she just submitted a DNA test to prove that she's Madeleine, but so far the DNA test is not going well at all for her. Right now, the DNA test that she submitted is very worrying to doctors, because after looking at her DNA, they think that she might have leukemia and a whole host of other health problems. Now, they haven't been able to determine if she is Madeleine yet or not, but I will keep y'all updated.
A Florida woman is facing manslaughter charges after leaving her granddaughter in a hot car, and this is the second time she's been involved in a grandchild's death. First, let's go back to November of 2021. 65-year-old Tracy Nix was taking care of her 16-month-old grandson. This is Ezra, and 3 days before Christmas, Tracy's husband was rocking Ezra to sleep when he left to run some errands. Ezra was left on the recliner, and Tracy was on a nearby couch, awake. Tracy would later tell police that she was asleep when her husband left. She says she woke up and couldn't find Ezra. She gets in her car, goes down the driveway, and calls her husband. She said that as soon as she turned around, she saw Ezra face down in a pond. Tracy starts performing CPR, and a neighbor calls police after hearing her screaming. Ezra's mother, Kayla, got a call that something happened to her son. She immediately drives over. She ends up getting into a head-on collision because she was so desperate to see her son. And this happened while she was 6 months pregnant. Ezra passed away at the hospital. Months later, Uriel is born in March of 2022. After Kayla lost her son, she didn't trust her mother at all. Over time, though, Kayla started to let Tracy back into her life and have supervised visits. She truly believed it was an accident and wanted her mom to stay in her life. She said, "I thought I could believe in second chances." Fast forward to November 1st of last year. 11-month-old Uriel is being cared for by Tracy, just for a few hours while Kayla gets her hair done. Tracy took Uriel to a restaurant and then went home. She said she starts practicing piano and talking to her dog. Hours pass. Some of Tracy's grandsons get to her house. All of a sudden, she realizes that 7-month-old Uriel was still strapped inside the SUV. The windows were up and temperatures reached 90 degrees. Tracy's husband immediately performed CPR, but Uriel passed away. Tracy's been charged with aggravated manslaughter, and she could face up to 30 years in prison. Her daughter said that she needs to go to prison. She said, "I will fight for them. I want justice for my son because he didn't get that." Tracy is either out on bond or currently in a mental health treatment center. A Minnesota mother of 2 has been missing for over a week. On March 31st, 26-year-old Madeleine Kingsbury dropped off her children at daycare. This was around 8 a.m. and her children's father was with her. Madeleine is in the middle of a conversation with her sister when she suddenly stops texting her back. She sent her last text just 15 minutes after dropping off her kids. They both made it home, and then around 10 a.m. the children's father told police that he left, and that when he returned sometime later, Madeleine was gone. But her phone, wallet, ID, and the jacket she wore that day was still at the house. Police believe this was involuntary, and they are concerned for her safety. Her family is offering a $50,000 reward for information leading to her return.
The family of this missing girl found out via the media that she'd been murdered, butchered, and sold as kebab meat. This case will put you off ever eating a kebab again. Charlene Downs disappeared aged just 14 years old in November 2003. She was living in Blackpool, UK, and was last seen in an area containing many kebab shops and takeaways. While out with her friends one night, Charlene bumped into her mum. Her mum said that Charlene needed to be home by 10 p.m. that night, which was quite typical for Charlene. Tragically, this would be the last time that her mum would ever see Charlene alive. When Charlene didn't turn up by 10 p.m, her dad went out on his bike looking for her for around half an hour. When he couldn't find her, he just presumed that she'd stayed over at her friend's house and went home and went to sleep. When she still didn't arrive the next morning, her parents started to get worried and they called police. Police, however, said that they could not report this as a missing person until she'd been missing for 48 hours. Eventually, police did start to look for her, but they said that they presumed she was a runaway. The case went cold until 3 years later. Charlene's family were called into a police station. There was news of 2 men who had been arrested, linked with a local takeaway called Funny Boys. They were arrested on suspicion of murder and disposal of Charlene. This is when the family found out some shocking news via the media about what had happened to Charlene. An article published stated that she had been grinded up and sold as kebab meat. One of the brothers of the men who had been arrested had heard them bragging about doing this. Now, Charlene's disappearance actually unearthed the fact that these takeaways were being used as a front for P rings, where men were luring teenagers in with food and alcohol in exchange for things I cannot repeat on this app. When the case against these 2 men went to trial, the jury failed to reach a verdict. The case was then thrown out of court due to apparent lack of physical evidence. One of the reasons for this is how well Charlene's body had obviously been disposed of. Both men who had been charged were given a £250,000 compensation for being falsely trialled. Around a week after the trial, Charlene's mum was actually arrested for stabbing her husband. He declined to press charges, saying that he knew she had been stressed. Members of the family were also charged with racially aggravated assault against the brother of the man who'd been charged with murder, and also punching the man who'd been charged with helping dispose of her body. In August 2017, police arrested a 51-year-old man who lived in Blackpool at the time of Charlene's disappearance. This was on suspicion of murdering her, however, he was released just 2 days later. We still have no justice for Charlene, and nobody is behind bars for her killing.
So the Simpsons did it again. They predicted the Queen's death.
No, they did not.
Homer and the family are driving through somewhere in England. Well, they hit the back of a horse and carriage.
Horse and carriage?
Yes, and the Queen pops out, and she's just standing there, and he's like, "Get back in your car, old lady." Behind her, there's a sticker that says 9/8/22. The Queen died September 8th, 2022.
Breaking news, Jared Drake Bell, Drake from Drake and Josh, has been reported missing. Here is the photo that is being used. The Daytona Beach Police Department tweeted, "Officers are looking for Jared Bell. He should be traveling in a 2022 gray BMW, and his last known location is potentially the area of Mainland High School on 4/12/2023, just before 9 p.m. He is considered missing and endangered."
Cause I've been busy, I've been chasing waterfalls. I stopped believing in some kind of miracle, and I've been staring at the sun for too damn long. But when I opened up the door, they led me back to you.
Quit, Cash. Come. Quit. It's okay. Come here. It's not bad. Come here, Cash. Shit. Come here. Post it. Cash.
Hey, he's got a bird in his mouth. Bubba.
Hey, Bubba.
That's a guinea.
This is a chicken.
Come here, Bubba.
Come here, Cash.
Come here, Bubba.
Cash. Quit.
Life can get tough, chills in my bones, working too much, weight on my soul, closing my eyes, let it all go. The least I can try, we'll find out somehow. And so we keep moving our feet to find a way, find a way. We gotta keep trying to believe in today, in today. Oh, and when we stop to breathe, I just know we're gonna see that if we keep moving our feet, we'll find a way, find a way. In today, in today. We'll find a way, find a way.
I saw him sit down, so I just was telling him, like, this is so chaotic. This is crazy. All these helicopters and SWAT cars coming. Like, what do you think this could be? And I don't remember him saying much, but he was just head down, wasn't really talking to me. He asked me for a ride when I was like starting to leave the McDonald's to meet my mother on the other side. That's when he started talking to me.
Okay. And what did you say?
He asked me for a ride. He was pretty insistent on it, and I said no. I wasn't really thinking much of it. I mean, I was just trying to get home. My sister wasn't answering her phone. I was nervous, I was panicked. I also had a bad gut feeling about it.
The body parts of 28-year-old model and social influencer Abby Choi were discovered a week ago concealed in pots of human soup. On February 25, 2023, investigators discovered a Dexter-esque, splatter-proof body disposal workshop in a rented 3-story home. 2 women's legs were found in the fridge. Choi's decapitated head was eventually located in one of the soup pots, boiling underneath carrots and green radishes. A layer of thick fat, several ribs, and minced human meat were also discovered in these soup pots. The gruesome murder was allegedly meticulously arranged by Choi's ex-husband Alex Kwong and his parents and his brother. Weeks prior to the killing, the Kwong family allegedly rented a 3-story house in the Tai Po district of Hong Kong. In the flat, police discovered a grisly butcher's shop, equipped with meat grinders, chainsaws, large knives, and meat cleavers, a hammer, face shields, gloves, and long black raincoats. along with Choi's purple handbag containing her ID and her credit cards. To some, this murder feels like it came from a sadistic family fantasy spawned by jealousy. Were they planning on eating her? The motive allegedly involved a family dispute over a luxury apartment worth 73 million Hong Kong dollars. Authorities believe that Choi was planning to sell the property as she was the one who purchased it. But it was placed in her former father-in-law's name to save taxes. The Kwong family reportedly lived on the property. On February 21, 2023, Anthony Kwong, Alex's brother and Choi's former brother-in-law, who also served as Choi's personal driver, offered to give her a ride to pick up her daughter from school. After picking Choi up, Anthony allegedly drove to the entrance of the Lion Rock Tunnel. The vehicle stopped in the tunnel and Choi's ex-husband entered the car. A hole was discovered on her skull behind her right ear, believed to be caused by a hard object. Choi's torso and hands are still reportedly missing and feared to have been thrown out. This past Valentine's Day, showing herself on the cover of a French magazine, Choi said, "Grateful for this recognition and for the continued support along the way." The 28-year-old victim was also the mother of 4 young children. She leaves behind 2 sons and 2 daughters placed in her mother's care.